Welcome to today's YouTube video. Today we're going to talk about Brexit. It's completely adulterated the documents over Brexit. There have been no significant progress in the negotiations so far. Okay. So far. So we know the EU do want a deal, but it's a bit hard, not sure whether Boris Johnson wants a deal or not. So basically at the moment, there's going to be a meeting with Boris Johnson. We'll be meeting Commission President Self-Over and potentially also Council President Charles Michel, and will take place towards the end of June. So there's going to be a meeting. Okay, so it says here, the next round of negotiations, at the end of June, there's going to be another round of negotiations, by the way. So basically, these talks have potential to open up some more political space for negotiations, just as the Prime Minister's meeting with Laura Frankel last year paved the way to revise Northern Ireland Protocol. In his press conference, Barnier also introduced a new deadline for the talks, 31st of October, to allow enough time for ratification processes, which can be complex in the EU. British counterpart David Frost had a week earlier told Parliament that he was targeting end September in order to give business time to prepare for the new trading arrangement. There is going to be a new trading arrangement. What would the new trading arrangement be is some sort. The EU application can be complicated in the UK side. There are a few issues, particularly with parliamentary majority of 80. When agreement contains provisions that talks remember state responsibilities known to miss agreements. Individual member states have to ratify this agreement now according to their national ratification procedures. The EU-Canada agreement was adopted as a mixed agreement, as was the EU-Ukraine Association Agreement. These national correction processes proved difficult in the past. If they seriously, it means that less than 5 months include negotiations which done very much. Not much progress has been made to date. It was entirely predictable that the big stumbling block to an agreement would be level playing field for fisheries and governments. The EU has insisted that any deal respects the reality of trade and fishing its status as an independent coastal state. It fair rejects anything that fetters in future decisions. On the level the playing field, although UK ministers claim that EU offered a Canada-style deal from the start, only added these demands later, which is not true. The EU didn't offer us a Canada-style trade deal. The EU initial guidelines on the future relationship in March 2018 made clear that the EU would insist that the UK cannot undercut environmental and social protection on the state aid. Compromise may be possible on environmental and social standards. Certain members said that on these the UK wanted the right to verge upwards. Mark Gove, the Chancellor of the Statute of Lancaster, has suggested that the UK could set non-collision clauses and equipment not to reduce the level of protections with the UK's exit transition at the end of the year on environmental and social issues. The EU was prepared to concede this as part of the negotiation around the UK-EU test customs territory into regional backstop, and this is what they are proposing in a negotiating mandate. It will also be in line with what is set out in the Prague Declaration in the future relationship agreed last October, but gives beyond much weaker provisions based on the EU's trade deal with Canada that the UK has included in the draft agreement it published in May. It is harder to see two sides reach agreement on state aid, where the EU is proposing that EU law continues to apply in the UK throw called the argument. This goes beyond the best text in the political declaration, where it may permit both sides to agree a robust competitive framework in competition and state control prevents undue distortion of trade and competition, including regulations for domestic enforcement and dispute resolution. The UK's proposed constitution, whether parties have concerns about each other policies, but also rejecting those dispute resolution. It does not necessarily leave the EU defenceless. Each state aids an area the EU should almost be able to protect itself through traditional trade defence mechanisms. Moreover, the UK has always committed to observe EU state aid rules in relation to anything that affects trade between Northern Ireland and the Union. It's a position which could potentially be interpreted widely by the EU. On fishing, the EU hardened its stance in its final negotiation mandate and was looking to preserve the status quo, position that Michel Barnier described as Malcolmist in his press conference. However, in suit discussion fishing mentioned on the 8th However, in subsequent fishing ministers from the 8 most affected member states, he was refused any leeway to move. He will not concede anything like the status quo without agreement. The EU will lose all influence over how the UK manages fisheries access. Although that will be welcomed by many of the UK fishing industry, others will suffer badly on the tons of tariff-free access to the EU market. The EU is keen for an early agreement and admitted there will be no trade agreement without an agreement on fish. It's one issue where the UK has substantial leverage. I brought it the EUC agreement being done on the concept of a wider agreement, one perhaps recognise the UK status as an independent coastal state but gives EU fisheries a degree of food trade assurance about levels of access, but with some reduction from current levels. The other issue, two sides far apart of governments. The EU is looking for a comprehensive association agreement and establish a trail which should cover all aspects of the relationship with a single overreacting government process. The UK wants a freestanding trade agreement and then a number of separate agreements with their own government arrangement. The EU has two reasons for wanting a single agreement. First, it believes that this provides framework for when the relationship between the UK and the EU can evolve over time, and in other areas of cooperation, as when it wishes. Second, this would allow the UK, if it wanted to, the UK the option of cross-central retaliation. If one side agrees one part agreement, the other can take positive action in another. The UK has argued that its approach is simply partisan and has complained that the UK should be willing to concede that the UK what is it is have been impaired of other countries. This pointed out is not by any precedent. Moreover, it argues that the UK has gone beyond precedent and has attempted to tear agreements of the single market. There are indeed a number of areas such as services framework where the UK seeking arrangements relating not to appear in any other trade agreement. It is also seeking trade safe provisions such as clearance and offer trade agreements that go beyond existing These don't make sense given interconnectors of the UK and economies and need to manage cross-channel trade. For this demand go far beyond that the EU has agreed with our partners and give rise to EU concerns regarding UK undercutting. The UK is also seeking continued mutual working and professional communications, paperwork for many UK service businesses like law and print firms, and to move barriers to short-term business visits. Finally, UK also proposes to receive agreement on continued recognition of geographical indication in the agreement, a particularly important issue for many of Scotland as targeting in the UK to negotiating objectives. The US and UK currently has 88 protected free names in Scott Ritchie and Scottish farms and wild salmon, but it has not published a new text. Or therefore indicated London wanted to guarantee future EU recognition of UK GIs, which is not counted in the withdrawal agreement. On financial services, the UK's draft agreement follows the EU's trade agreement with Canada and seeks to allow the cross-border supply of financial services. Currently, using post-passing arrangement, it is estimated that 6 to 7% of UK financial services, not in new insurance, supplied to the EU are delivered cross-border from a UK base. Provisions in territory do not match current forcing arrangements, but rely on subsequent decisions, and that's the approach delivered in the UK's draft agreement. These provisions may enable financial firms outside the EU to conduct businesses within the single market and for EU counterparts, without being subject to EU regulation on top of their home country regulation, provided that the EU determines that the legal and monetary system of the third country is deemed equivalent. However, it is usually interpreted as relating to many limited So basically what we got here, that things stand, and it's hard to see how a deal will be agreed by end 2023. It's not mainly about time issues, final driver is encounter problems, from value issues, between the two sides were and remain extremely difficult. This raises question as to need for more time. Next we go on to extending transition. Will not be extended transition period we have from that. Time, however, may still be an issue. Original transition period will provide the 21st month to negotiate and serve our new relationship. The UK left the originally planned 31st of March 2019. However, the negotiations did not start until March 2020. This timeline is therefore much shorter than the EU has ever did to conclude a trade negotiation, and due to COVID-19, negotiations are having to take place by video conference rather face to face. Some claim an extension might help find the two sides significant time to conclude the negotiations, but the reasons to know that above is far from clear. The deal could be agreed even if transition was extended for more time for negotiations. Others claim that by refusing to extend transition, can the UK accept real pressure on the EU to make negotiations necessary for a deal, but the gaps between the two sides mean that there has been so much movement that is unlikely, not least with little time and possibly an sort of behind the scenes political diplomacy that laid ground for such a deal. In danger that the government leaves own military that the EU shifted in October 2019, when in fact the UK did little more than move back to the EU's further goal for now only political, which Theresa May had rejected as Prime Minister. Because the government decided it needs an extension, time of decision takes on crucial importance. For the UK said it will not make use of provisions in Article 132 to extend transmission. This says that notwithstanding Article 136, the Joint Committee may, before 1st July 2020, adopt a single edition extended transition period for up to 3 years, 1 or 2 years. However, that could, but it's quite hard to see an extension to happen after Brexit. So, but that after July. But even if the government does not seek an extension before the 1st July deadline, it's possible that the two sides may agree on the need for one later. Have to finalise the detailed negotiations or to allow time for application. For the government to seek such an extension, a number of possible legal routes have been suggested. First, trying to use Article 50, the legal basis for the withdrawal agreement. Under international law, it has been argued that the extension of the suit agreement by the two existing agreements. Article 50 could still be used as a legal basis. However, many UK lawyers argue that after Brexit, Article 50 no longer applies to the UK. I also note that international law applies only to states and that the EU is not a state. Second, as a violation to the above, EU member states and the UK could enter into an international agreement outside EU law to agree an extension. However, this seems difficult legally because an extension would extend EU law, and so the EU would need a legal basis to act. There are other legal bases in the treaty, such as Article 207 and 217, but again, these might well need a unanimous agreement of the Council, and an agreement to tackle issues of member state competence, then it being reached agreement requiring national originalisation. The Court of Justice may also be required to give its opinion. All of this takes time. The third, the UK might be able to reach an agreement with the EU by 31st December 2020 that may encourage a very liberal implementation period despite existing EU law and to enter into new agreements over a number of years to come. However, this will need a legal basis in the treaty and likely be a mixed agreement. Fourth, it suggested that the decision of the Joint Committee established under the withdrawal agreement might be used to agree a new extension. However, the committee can amend the withdrawal agreement itself. Powers do not include amending Article 226, expiry date of the transition period, or Article 132. This provision allowing extension of the transition period. Finally, Article 352 TFEU, which is the EU's original legal basis to attain one objectives treaty, has been suggested as a potential option. Declaration 41 and 40 make clear that Article 352 cannot be used to provide in the scope for union powers. All this points to the need for a decision to be taken on extension by 30th of June 2020. Clearly, one should underestimate NQE laws, their ability to come up with some innovative solution if need be, particularly if governments are demanding this. However, it remains the case it's far from certain a legal basis that for post 30th of June extension could be found. EU transition with no trade agreement in place. Given the distraction of COVID-19 and the attention of both sides, a no trade deal outcome seems as likely as it ever has. There appears to argue about many limited possibilities to end-to-end transition agreements without going through the formal procedure set out to agreement. It's quite possible that to tell break up an autumn without agreement, there will be following mutual recognition as the UK member states point finger of blame for the economic power of no deal at the other side. This will make an intimate resumption in negotiations, while agreement on measures to potentially mitigate the impact of no deal extremely difficult. However, given the gauge of issues over which the UK create and have a shared interest, it seems like the talks will have to assume at some point. Although Australia is currently negotiating with the EU over a compensatory trade agreement, it does already have some banking deals in place to ease trade flows. The UK is likely want to try to call some of those trade deals in areas such as aviation and perhaps food haulage, betting arrangements to make our seaboard less enormous. However, the atmosphere for these agreements will not be good if the talks broke down. In the short term, it would be more likely both sides would resort to unequal measures which do not require negotiation. As such, those the Commission imposed previously for no deal preparations, sort of measures may ease some of the short term problems, but they are unnecessary and negate the EU and do not provide business long term certainty. It's always pointed out that the potential implications of no deal outcome threaten every bit of significance as alternate. So the negotiation collapse and the outcome will be doubtless a period of emotional recommissions. There will be obvious flashpoints for things to easily spiral out of control. Take one example, the British government has remembered that even with deal, there will need to be some checks in Northern Ireland. I bet they have made it clear that it intends to limit these as far as possible, no deal at all. However, given our many different relationship with the EU that found Ireland and Great Britain, and when have it comes to good, these checks will be more intrusive and broader, more obvious. Will this be manageable? And all this in the concept of war, which many in the West are reconsidering their relationship with China. Though Donald Trump continues to demonstrate doubts about the future of Japan's Pacific ground, cross-China tensions will hardly help either side craft a sensible and proactive strategy to address such international uncertainties. Okay, so we have had had no recent assessment of UK readiness for life in no deal scenario. A lot of staff insist government work on Brexit preparation were diverted onto COVID-19 work and business bandwidth have been eaten up with coping consequences of virus. In the one October 2019, the government told business to prepare for no deal exit. The National Air Office suggests that many had not taken that seriously. The government should shut down its no deal contingency work only a year, but said it has started to prepare for own skin in its SNG. The talks with the EU were likely to fail. The UK will have been helped by last year's no deal plan, but then the government so basically what we've got here that if we don't get a deal, then comes the risk of no deal. There comes the risk of no deal, basically. So we're going to talk about no deal is back on the table. CNN 10 sources have been at it again. This time, 10 Sunday times that the UK is prepared to walk away from the Brexit negotiations, which the EU has displayed greater flexibility. No deal, in other words, is back on the Brexit table. Indeed, as we explain in the recent report, no trade deal outcome looked as likely as it ever has. What difference would it make in the context of the disruption that COVID-19 will already be causing? It's worth starting that no deal was not the same, and the reason may for one thing. There is now a withdrawal agreement in place. This shows up the money the UK owes the EU for the issue of citizens' rights and to an extent the full question of Northern Ireland, on which more is in a minute. This was doubtless that Michael Gove was making in Parliament when he said we can't have a no deal scenario because the withdrawal agreement is a deal. Thanks.
What else did you order?
That's
DVD?
Yeah.
Is that the only thing that's not come
Yeah.
yet?
So, yeah, what can however is a no trade deal scenario. And here lies the other difference with the situation under May. The logic underlying government thinking is spelled out recently by James Frost, and it seems to be that this disruption caused by coronavirus means the cost of leaving without trade deal are lower than they have ever been. From an economic perspective, there is little force to this agreement, at least for the long term. There, should call by need, and again and again and again and again. However, this current schedule being sought by Boris Johnson is far thinner than that which her predecessor negotiated by the much maligned all UK backstop, which would have kept the UK in de facto customer in the EU. Ding ding. Ding ding. The lack of ambition means that even in the likely event that you can get exactly what it wants from a trade deal, if you know if you have significant disruption to your current trading pact will be needed. Amon suggests that no trade deal, trade on world trade terms, would over the long term reduce UK GDP by about 6% or £2,000 per head. But type of deal by the government would only reduce the damage by a fifth. As the argument goes, a trade deal would be nice, but hardly top priority. However, there are a number of institutions doing heavy lifting here. First, the coronavirus will reduce the impact of any cliff edge. In January 2021, Bill ultimately it's certainly true that, as the Russian government has pointed out, the normal process of normal economy can continue under the letter of ground to a halt as well as the former. But this cuts both ways. One of the success stories of the recent period has led to the resurgence of food supply chains despite disruptions imposed by lockdown. The checks and tariffs that are unqualified no deal and the disruption in this area will almost certainly be more apparent than it is now. Basically, we had some solutions already, food shortages already, so we know now what to look for when the no deal books is, be it a food shortage on a more wider scale. But this time, it won't be the dude's panic buy. It will be due. So, it will be a brave and honest economist who, given the uncertainty, would predict how Brexit will interact with the argument of COVID-19, which, however, certain that the whole world both affect not just the EU, UK, but the EU and this world. They affect us more. Our exports to the EU are about 13 to 14% of UK GDP, but EU exports to the UK are less than 3% of UK GDP. And the COVID-19 outbreak has been more serious and more prolonged than in the EU. More deaths are here, and even worse hit European countries, yet above the alone average. This kind of impact, in other words, will be significant. The second argument is that what really matters for both COVID-19 and Brexit is not short-term disruption, which may be painful but long-term structural impacts to the UK economy. In other words, both represent the permanent economic shock in which business and the economy will have to adjust. What we have done, we adjusted to the COVID-19 by adjusted people working. That is what happened at the moment. But we might have adjusted a bit more. We could see our jobs have costs, investment, reshaping business models and restructuring supply chains, and all be painful for some. Sure, these costs will be minimised. These results are scrutinised with one bound the UK economy and will shift to a new post-Brexit, post-COVID model. Again, it's hard to model, but it's fair to say that this view is not popular in the business community. What is certain that it represents a huge gamble, the capacity of the UK economy to withstand an extended period of potential disruption and emerge strong on the other side, as that most of its recent analogy in the fractured area of deindustrialisation. More broadly, the critical implication of no deal outcome threatens to be every bit as significant as the economic fallout. Should the negotiations collapse, the outcome will be doubtless to appear the mutual recognition that both sides point the finger of blame at the other. And there will be obvious flashpoints where things go easy, spread out of control. Take one example, the Brexit government has already admitted that even with the deal, there will be need to be some checks in Northern Ireland. A vote that has made it clear that it tends to limit those as far as possible. No deal at all, given the fundamental relationship with the EU that Northern Ireland and Great Britain have it when it comes to goods. Those checks will be more intrusive and more obvious. Will this be manageable? And we even mentioned fish. All this is the context for while many in the West are recognising the relationship with China. But Donald Trump continues to generate doubts about the future of transatlantic bond. Of course, China tensions would hardly help at all. Quite sensible and committed strategy to address such international uncertainties. Capturing now that no deal is certainly smaller than it was under Theresa May. And COVID-19 may indeed alter that calculation still further. Yet even so, no deal would still be a big deal. So, next we're going to talk about chlorinated chicken. I know we're going to get chlorinated chicken from the US, so we're going to talk about what is that means. The UK's future trade deals are yet again overshadowed by challenges posed by climate change to UK farmers, and other regulations, and more generally, the UK's regulatory identity. Chemical wash chickens have been at the heart of the US trade conference, and also hormone-fed beef. All their export to Europe has long been objective to farmers and trade regulators alike. The US found obtained from the EU is now trying to get it from the UK, which for inclusion for most produced at lower standards in the UK-US trade deal, currently under negotiation. This is not news. Corinted chickens have been featured prominently in Brexit debates since at least 2017. And the US coalition of EU Animal Welfare and Food Flexibility as foreign trade players are well known. Each year the Office of the EU Trade Representative publishes reports such farmers, suggesting that piece of farm requirements are unclear, difficult to comply with, and lack a basis in international standards. This year's reports further voice concern that live cattle in years cannot be exported to or via the European Union, and objections to unscripted ban on meat and animal products due to estrogen hormones, beta-agonists, and other growth hormones. As a former EU member, currently still aligned with EU rules, but with a growing ability to verge from EU standards, it's very surprising that EU is being asked to vert from the EU in UK-US trade negotiations. Indeed, it is in interest to the US to get the UK to move from the EU position on these issues in order to make a dramatic victory against the security of the European safety concerns in their respect. We can expect coronated chickens to be the first of many demands. What is news is the willingness of the UK government to accept coronated chicken imports. There is a marked contrast if the Conservative Party's 2019 general election manifesto pledge in all our trade negotiations will not compromise on high environmental protection, animal welfare and food standards. But from a month ago, in July 2017, to these videos in January 2020, an opposition to the sale of coronated chicken in the UK has been a mantra successive UK Conservative governments. But this does not appear to be the case anymore. A leaked John Street memo has called for no specific policy on animal welfare in US trade talks. Well, this is new. If it's not really surprising, the UK is a smaller party in these talks, and the party who has the most to benefit from striking a deal. As such, as Steve Lowe from the Centre of European Reform argues, it's always been the case that the UK is sure of free trade agreement, it will need to find a way of giving America what it wants and when it comes to agricultural and food standards. The way found is a dual track logic. The ban on going wash chicken would easily be removed, but only chickens meeting UK welfare standards would benefit from lower tariffs. High tariffs or coronation could depend on how high they are set, of the production cost, stability and habit. And uncommercial with the US procedures is important to the UK. Despite these exports becoming legally possible. Even this is only several years for the mass season. First, pig policy shifts lifting the ban, because this marks chemical washed chicken as safe and fit to be eaten in the UK. Most people will accept the tariffs, they can be changed down the line. Initially set high and lowered later on. Second, coronation debate has never been only about chicken or such whether it matters to the UK's identity as a whole. Will the UK remain in orbit of the European Union and maintain its attachment to the precautionary principle, Whitstead jumped ship and was the US risk-based approach. Organic vet and huge hybrid halfway house between those two veterinary giants. This has an assurance in the UK context, as we are still waiting for the return of the Environment Bill, which includes the promulgation principle that owners as far as related to the farming to the Commons. Parliamentary work on Article Bill has so failed to ensure high food standards for the imports after Brexit. Despite a petition organised by the NFU and backed by commercial charities, gathering close to 900,000 signatures. Third policy is ensuring at a time when the UK's no negotiation with the European Union. Set winners bow down to US registry pressures will further reinforce UK's concerns as it needs a legally binding agreement and net mere political agreements to level playing field. Meanwhile, the possible imports were lower than EU levels, and Great Britain will put added pressure on checks on Great Britain's Northern Ireland trade, for Northern Ireland being used as an backdoor for American goods into the EU single market. Thanks for watching today.